Welcome and welcome back to Through the Bible in a Year. I don't say this every time, but we are using David Barton's The Founder's Bible. And so not only are we going through the Bible in a year, but we are learning how the founding fathers of this country, how they were able to develop this country, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, all of those documents, and what their feelings and beliefs were about the Word of God. And so those articles are also included in this Bible, so it gives us a wonderful foundation of not only our faith, but the foundation of our country. And so today, this is May the 2nd. We're going to read Psalms 123, 1 Samuel chapter 13, and then Proverbs chapter 30. We've got one article, a very good article. We've read it before. Matter of fact, I believe we probably read it every month because it is in the book of Proverbs, and we go through that book every month. It's titled The Key to Good Government. It'd be well worth listening to that article. But let's begin with Psalms and chapter 123.
Psalm 123, Song of Ascents.
Unto you I lift up my eyes, O you who dwell in the heavens. Behold, as the eyes of servants look to the hand of their masters, as the eyes of a maid to the hand of her mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord our God, until he has mercy on us. Have mercy on us, O Lord. Have mercy on us. For we are exceedingly filled with contempt. Our soul is exceedingly filled with the scorn of those who are at ease, with the contempt of the proud.
Psalms chapter 123. Now we're going to turn in our Bibles to the book of 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel and chapter number 13.
Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel. 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash and in the mountains of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeah of Benjamin. The rest of the people he sent away, every man to his tent. And Jonathan attacked the garrison of the Philistines that was in Geba. And the Philistines heard of it. Then Saul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying,
Let the Hebrews hear!
Now all Israel heard it said that Saul had attacked a garrison of the Philistines, and that Israel had also become an abomination to the Philistines. And the people were called together to Saul at Gilgal. Then the Philistines gathered together to fight with Israel 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand which is on the seashore in multitude. And they came up and encamped in Michmash, to the east of Beth-aven. When the men of Israel saw that they were in danger, for the people were distressed, then the people hid in caves, in thickets, in rocks, in holes, and in pits. And some of the Hebrews crossed over the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. As for Saul, he was still in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. Then he waited 7 days, according to the time set by Samuel. But Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. So Saul said,
Bring a burnt offering and peace offerings here to me.
And he offered the burnt offering. Now it happened, as soon as he had finished presenting the burnt offering, that Samuel came. And Saul went out to meet him, that he might greet him. And Samuel said,
What have you done?
When I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered together at Michmash, then I said, The Philistines will now come down on me at Gilgal. And I have not made supplication to the Lord. Therefore I felt compelled and offered a burnt offering.
You have done foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of the Lord your God, which he commanded you. For now, the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. But now, your kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought for himself a man after his own heart, and the Lord has commanded him to be commander over his people, because you have not kept what the Lord commanded you.
Then Samuel arose and went up from Gilgal to Gibeah of Benjamin. And Saul numbered the people present with him, about 600 men. Saul, Jonathan his son, and the people present with them remained in Gibeah of Benjamin. But the Philistines encamped in Michmash. Then raiders came out of the camp of the Philistines in 3 companies. One company turned onto the road to Ophrah, to the land of Shual. Another company turned to the road to Beth-horon, and another company turned to the road of the border that overlooks the valley of Zeboim, toward the wilderness. Now there was no blacksmith to be found throughout all the land of Israel. For the Philistines said,
Lest the Hebrews make swords or spears.
But all the Israelites would go down to the Philistines to sharpen each man's plowshare, his mattock, his axe, and his sickle. And the charge for a sharpening was a pim for the plowshares, the mattocks, the forks, and the axes, and to set the points of the goads. So it came about, on the day of battle, that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people who were with Saul and Jonathan. But they were found with Saul and Jonathan his son. And the garrison of the Philistines went out to the pass of Michmash.
Amen. And that is 1 Samuel chapter number 13. This is a little bit of a short day today. We're just reading 3 chapters. The third book now, Proverbs. We always finish with the book of Proverbs. We're going to go to Proverbs and chapter 30. Proverbs chapter 30.
The words of Agur, the son of Jacob, his utterance. This man declared to Ithiel and Ucal,
Surely I am more stupid than any man, and do not have the understanding of a man. I neither learned wisdom, nor have knowledge of the Holy One. Who has ascended into heaven, or descended? Who has gathered the wind in his fists? Who has bound the waters in a garment? Who has established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? And what is his son's name, if you know? Every word of God is pure. He is a shield to those who put their trust in him. Do not add to his words, lest he rebuke you, and you be found a liar. 2 things I request of you. Deprive me not before I die. Remove falsehood and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food allotted to me, lest I be full and deny you, and say, Who is the Lord? Or lest I be poor and steal, and profane the name of my God. Do not malign a servant to his master, lest he curse you, and you be found guilty. There is a generation that curses its father and does not bless its mother. There is a generation that is pure in its own eyes, yet is not washed from its filthiness. There is a generation, oh, how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up. There is a generation whose teeth are like swords, and whose fangs are like knives, to devour the poor from off the earth, and the needy from among men. The leech has 2 daughters. Give and give. There are 3 things that are never satisfied. 4 never say enough. The grave, the barren womb, the earth that is not satisfied with water, and the fire never says enough. The eye that mocks his father and scorns obedience to his mother, the ravens of the valley will pick it out, and the young eagles will eat it. There are 3 things which are too wonderful for me. Yes, 4 which I do not understand. The way of an eagle in the air, the way of a serpent on a rock, the way of a ship in the midst of the sea, and the way of a man with a virgin. This is the way of an adulterous woman. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, I have done no wickedness. For 3 things the earth is perturbed. Yes, for 4 it cannot bear up. For a servant when he reigns, a fool when he is filled with food, a hateful woman when she is married, and a maidservant who succeeds her mistress. There are 4 things which are little on the earth, but they are exceedingly wise. The ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their food in the summer. The rock badgers are a feeble folk, yet they make their homes in the crags. The locusts have no king, yet they all advance in ranks. The spider skillfully grasps with its hands, and it is in kings' palaces. There are 3 things which are majestic in pace. Yes, 4 which are stately in walk. A lion which is mighty among beasts and does not turn away from any. A greyhound, a male goat also, and a king whose troops are with him. If you have been foolish in exalting yourself, or if you have devised evil, put your hand on your mouth. For as the churning of milk produces butter, and wringing the nose produces blood, so the forcing of wrath produces strife.
And that is the reading out of the book of Proverbs. The article that we have today, The Key to Good Government, is also out of Proverbs, and it's out of the chapter that we read yesterday, Proverbs 29 and verse number 2. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when a wicked man rules, people groan. The key to good government. Most citizens believe that the U.S. Constitution governs America, but it does not. When the Founding Fathers were creating it at the Constitutional Convention, Delegate John Francis Mercer affirmed, and I quote, "It is a great mistake to suppose that the paper we are to propose will govern the United States. It is the men whom it will bring into the government and interest they have in maintaining it that are to govern them. The paper will only mark out the mode and the form. Men are the substance and must do the business. The Constitution gives citizens the power to elect leaders, But if the wrong types of leaders are elected, the Constitution will be absolutely worthless in their hands. Consider Israel as an example. Was there any nation in the history of the world with better civil laws? Certainly not, for God himself had written their laws. Yet, how good were those God-given laws under rulers such as Ahab and Jezebel, Manasseh, Jeroboam, Rehoboam, or other wicked leaders? Despite the fact that their laws came directly from God, they were completely disregarded by corrupt and deficient leaders. Our founders fully understood this biblical truth, which is why William Patterson, a signer of the Constitution placed on the U.S. Supreme Court by President George Washington, reminded us, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Patterson was quoting directly from Proverbs 29:2, which declares, when the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when a wicked man rules, people groan. Significantly, this Bible verse and its core principle were frequently invoked not only by the founding fathers, but also by ministers of the day. They all understood that the key to sound government was not how good our documents or laws were, but rather was how good our leaders were. In fact, a century before the founders, the Reverend William Penn had acknowledged the same biblical truth when creating the government of Pennsylvania, explaining, "Governments, like clocks, go from the motion men give them. And as governments are made and moved by men, so by them they are ruined too. Wherefore governments rather depend upon men than men upon governments. Let men be good, and the government cannot be bad. But if men be bad, let the government be never so good. They will endeavor to warp and spoil it to their turn. Lax, incompetent, or unrighteous individuals rarely enforce good laws, and an excellent constitution is an inadequate guarantee for good government if it is not administered by competent and reliable leaders. But in America, whether the righteous or the wicked rule depends totally upon the choice of the voters. We were therefore trained to carefully investigate leaders and then choose those with moral and religious integrity. As founding father Noah Webster instructed students, and I quote, "When you become entitled to exercise the right of voting for public officers, let it be impressed on your mind that God commands you to choose for rulers just men who will rule in the fear of God." Exodus 18:21. The preservation of a republican government depends on the faithful discharge of this duty. If the citizens neglect their duty and place unprincipled men in office, the government will soon be corrupted. Laws will be made not for the public good so much as for selfish or local purposes. Corrupt or incompetent men will be appointed to execute the laws. The public revenues will be squandered on unworthy men, and the rights of the citizens will be violated or disregarded. If a Republican government fails to secure public prosperity and happiness, it must be because the citizens neglect the divine commands and elect bad men to make and administer the laws. Declaration signer Samuel Adams similarly explained, and I quote, "He who is void of virtuous attachments in private life is, or very soon will be, void of all regard of his country. There is seldom an instance of a man guilty of betraying his country who had not before lost the feeling of moral obligations in his private connections. The public cannot be too curious concerning the characters of public men." Signer and penman of the Constitution, Gouverneur Morris, agreed, and I quote, "There must be religion. When that ligament is torn, society is disjointed and its members perish. The nation is exposed to foreign violence and domestic convulsion. Vicious or ungodly rulers, chosen by vicious and ungodly people, turn back the current of corruption to its source. Placed in a situation where they can exercise authority for their own emolument or benefit, they betray their trust. They take bribes. They sell statutes and decrees. They sell honor and office. They sell their conscience. They sell their country. But the most important of all lessons is the denunciation of ruin to every state that rejects the precepts of religion." Signer of the Declaration, John Witherspoon, likewise warned, and I quote, "Those who wish well to the state ought to choose to places of trust men of inward principle, justified by exemplary conversation. Is it reasonable to expect wisdom from the ignorant, fidelity or faithfulness from the profligate or unfaithful? Assiduity or diligence and application to public business from men of a dissipated or careless life? Is it reasonable to commit the management of public revenue to one who hath wasted his own patrimony or inheritance? Those, therefore, who pay no regard to religion and sobriety in the persons whom they send to the legislature of any state are guilty of the greatest absurdity and will soon pay dear for their folly." Such candid warnings from our founders were numerous and clear. If citizens ignored the private lives of candidates and became negligent in electing godly leaders to office, government would become corrupt. Voting was therefore seen as one of the most important of Christian responsibilities and was not to be taken lightly, as Samuel Adams reminded citizens, and I quote, "Let each citizen remember at the moment he is offering his vote that he is not making a present or a compliment to please an individual, or at least that he ought not so to do, but that he is exercising one of the most solemn trusts in human society for which he is accountable to God and his country. Some today have been wrongly convinced that becoming involved with civic activities distracts from the time necessary to build a strong family. But actually the opposite is true. Well, the overall well-being of a family depends upon a number of diverse factors. One of the most important is the quality of our civil government. Adams explains, and I quote, "Every citizen will see, and I hope be deeply impressed with a sense of it, how exceedingly important it is to himself, and how intimately the warfare or welfare of his children is connected with it, that those who are to have a share in making as well as in judging and executing the laws should be men of singular wisdom and integrity." How does the preservation of sound government help build a strong family? Because when government is filled with ungodly and unrighteous leaders, it enacts and enforces policies contrary to the values, beliefs, and practices necessary for the formation and preservation of stable families. Significantly, even a cursory examination of the many negative influences working against American families over recent decades reveals that in many cases, not only did government policies and programs initiate a number of those problems, but they also highly exacerbated from introducing them. Therefore, for the sake of our families, Christians must be involved in civil government. The current condition of our government and country is similarly in large measure a reflection of its people, what we value and what we will tolerate. If we desire to be a God-fearing nation, our action, or more accurately the lack thereof, will be a big determining factor in the kind of government we either enjoy or must then endure. Perhaps President James A. Garfield, a Christian minister during the national revival known as the Second Great Awakening, succinctly articulated this truth when he reminded Americans, and I quote, "Now more than ever before, the people are responsible for the character of their Congress. If that body be ignorant, reckless, and corrupt, it is because the people tolerate ignorance, recklessness, and corruption. If it be intelligent, brave, and pure, it is because the people demand these high qualities to represent them in the national legislature. If the next Continental does not find us a great nation with a great and worthy Congress, it will be because those who represent the enterprise, the culture, and the morality of the nation did not aid in controlling the political forces." The Reverend Charles Finney, a famous minister in the Second Great Awakening, therefore warned, and I quote again, "The church must take right ground in regard to politics. The time has come that Christians must vote for honest men and take consistent ground in politics. God cannot sustain this free and blessed country which we love and pray for unless the church will take right ground. Politics are a part of a religion in such a country as this, and Christians must do their duty to the country as a part of their duty to God. It seems sometimes as if the foundations of the nation were becoming rotten, and Christians seem to act as if they thought God did not see what they do in politics. But I tell you, he does see it, and he will bless or curse this nation according to the course they take. The responsibilities facing God-fearing citizens today are sober, and the potential repercussions from our actions or lack thereof are both far-reaching and long-lasting. To have been given the power to determine the quality of our government and its leaders by our vote, and then not to use that power or to use it unwisely, is reminiscent of the servant who received a trust from the master and decided to do nothing with it. Matthew 25:24 through 28, and Luke 19:20 through 24. None of the servants asked for the stewardship they had received, but the master gave it to them anyway, and they became responsible to him for what they did with it. We did not ask to be born in America. We did not ask to be given this government. Nevertheless, it is now in our hands, and the Master will call us to account for our handling of it. What legacy will we leave the next generation? Unfortunately, some Christians adopt a policy of non-engagement, being more concerned and convinced of the imminence of Christ's return. And while we are told in 1 Thessalonians 5:2 to expect Christ's return as a thief in the night, Jesus also told us to do business with this until I come back. Luke 19:13. Our theological position on the end times is not meant to lead us to civic inaction, but just the opposite. Knowing this very thing, 2 Peter 3:12, actually commends us to the truth that our holy character and conduct can actually hasten the Lord's return. Jesus' exhortation is clear. As his followers, we are to remain engaged until he return. It's time for Christians to re-involve themselves in civil stewardship. How else can we hope to be salt and light in society if we fail to exercise the privilege and responsibility of wise voting? We need to re-internalize the truth of Proverbs 29:2 and recognize that when the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when a wicked man rules, people groan. The righteous can't rule unless some of the qualified ones are willing to run for office. And they are not likely to hold office unless the rest of us are willing to get out and elect them when they do run. We all know all it takes for evil to prosper is for good men or women to do nothing. And that is the reading for today. A very good article, worth listening, and not only listening, but sharing. The key to good government. Today is May the 2nd, and we have read Psalms 123, 1 Samuel chapter 13, Proverbs 30, and then this really wonderful article, The Key to Good Government. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Make sure that you meditate on what you have heard and what you have read today. God bless you, and we will see you tomorrow.